topic, gamification and testing. So I brainstormed a lot of topics which I could talk today. So I specialize in test automation, but the theme of the conference was game of testing, so I thought I'll align my topic to something similar.
Got it.
Right? So here's my topic, gamification in testing. Let's level it up. So quick intro about me. I am a director, product evangelist at XLQ. So XLQ is an AI-powered no-code test automation and test management platform. I'll be not talking about this today, but if you're interested, you can definitely connect to me after this talk. I also lead Q community. It's a community of test automation enthusiasts. So if there are any test automation enthusiasts here, you can also connect with me over LinkedIn. Quick things about my experience. I have 15 years of experience. Worked in companies like Cornerstone, JP Morgan, BNP Paribas, Infosys, etc. Got a couple of certifications as well. I am more inclined towards cloud testing. So I'm an AWS Solutions certified architect. So again, if you're interested in cloud testing, you can definitely connect with me. I also am inclined to Scrum and Agile. So I'm also a certified Scrum Master and a certified Agile leader. So again, I hold this expertise as well. Not in the talk today though. Okay, so let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? Gamification and its history. Why gamification in testing? Gamification design steps and mechanics. How do you set up gamification? I'm going to give you 12 gamification ideas that you can use in your teams. And what is the benefits of gamification to testers? And I'll end it with some gamification tips and testing tips. So before we get started, I'll just go with the definition or the Wikipedia definition, which is gamification is the act of applying game-like characteristics to non-game situations in order to increase user interaction. So what is game-like characteristics? Something like a leaderboard, something like badges, something like certificates. So these are some things like game-like characteristics and non-gamification game situation. So what is a non-game situation? Today we are going to talk about gamification in testing. So how you can apply gamification to testing. Okay, so this will be the topic. So just taking you back to history and why the popularity of gamification start to come in. In 1896, SNS Green Stamps, this is a store, they issued stamps to their loyal customers. So that's when the concept of gamification started initially. And very quickly in 1981, the American Airlines introduced their frequent flyer program. So they started gamification, and then in the hotel industry, Holiday Inn was the first to start off gamification with their first loyalty program. So this concept started to get increased. Engagement was the prime motto behind instigating gamification. That's when in 1981 the term gamification was coined. So before I go to what is the difference between game and play, how many of you like games? Everyone? That's good. What all games you like? Can I hear a few?
Counter-Strike.
Awesome.
Esport.
Football. Okay. Anyone played? Anyone an NFS fan?
Yes.
Big NFS fan.
It was one day.
Yeah. Counter-Strike?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. How about Mario?
Yes.
And Contra? I don't know how many of you are in the Contra age. Okay. Some fans like me. Awesome. So let's get into what is difference between game and play. Okay. So game is basically confined within a space and has a set of rules. So some of the games that you talked about, Mario, Counter-Strike, etc., they fall in this quadrant, which is the gaming and the whole part, which is basically confined and has a set of rules, right? So there are serious games as well. We have flight simulator, we have simulation of a surgery and stuff like that. We're talking about the previous session, which was on the VR, where you dissect a frog, etc. So those come as a part of serious games. Then we have playing. Now what is the difference between playing? Playing, open-ended, no rules. Kids playing with toys. These are no rules. You take a thing of a car or a Lego blocks, just assemble it and do anything you want. Right? And there is this quadrant which is the playful design and parts. So if you see this particular thing which is the musical steps, so it is about, again, open-ended, but it has few gamification concepts. So it is in parts. So when we talk about gamification or gameful design, it is basically gaming in parts, right? So it is basically confined in a space, has set of rules, but you are using certain characteristics of that game. Okay? So this is game versus play. Now, what is game versus gamification? Right? When we think of games, we think of Counter-Strike, NFS, all this, right? So the popular game Mario is what we come across. But what game is specifically is basically to entertain you guys, right? The other difference that we see is probably your motor skills might increase, so you have to work with hands and stuff like that. Or now there are, PS4s and others where you can exercise as well playing games. But what is gamification is very much different from what game is, right? It is mostly to engage and motivate. So there is a vast difference. So gamification is not Candy Crush, gamification is not Counter-Strike. When we talk of gamification, these are some real examples of how gamification has been implemented. Like if you see LinkedIn, when you are trying to submit your profile, right, you get this kind of a progress bar which says, okay, you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. Even if you see Amazon, like you're trying to purchase a product or you're trying to purchase some book, right, you get some sort of ratings there. It's trying to engage you, it's trying to persuade you into buying this book, right? AWS also recently launched AWS Bugfest last year, where they invited everyone to come in and test their product. So this was again to invite gamification and get feedback. We'll talk more about all of these soon. So since this is a conference dedicated to testing, right? Why gamification in testing, right? If you see DevOps, be it build, plan, merge, release, deploy, all of these areas is where we need to test. So today, none of these areas can escape testing, right? And when you talk about testing skills, right? It's a lot to learn, lots of skills to acquire. Even in this conference, you're learning a lot of things: accessibility, performance, AR, VR, IoT, APIs, etc. So the skills are humongous. I have listed around 59 skills, so if anyone is interested, what are the skills testers should know, you can just Google testers Rubik Cube, Geosley, where you'll get around 59 skills testers should know. Some of them are, bug advocacy, knowing how to create frameworks, knowing how to create tools, having domain knowledge, having communication skills. So there are a lot of skills as testers we need to learn. And like if you were in Pradeep's session yesterday, he talked about being a full stack product tester or a full stack technical tester, right? So what that means is we have to learn a lot. We have to be aware of a lot of skills as testers, right? We cannot stick to a particular domain or a particular area. So the other thing as testers, we need to collaborate and we need to increase our expertise. We need to become experts. And as testers, we also need to see different perspectives of looking at a product that we are testing, right? So these are some of the qualities that we need for gamification. The other thing, we need to invite out-of-box testing. So as testers, when you are trying to test a particular product, you definitely want to invite out-of-box thinking, and that's where gamification triggers this aspect. The other is quick response time to issues. Today we are very agile. The way we deliver is very fast. So we need quicker response time to issues. We need to identify bugs real fast. Like, as they say, if you find bugs early, it saves you cost at the end. The other thing is proper adherence to standards in the team. Most of us do automation. Some of us do not follow clean code standards. Some of us do not follow solid principles. Some of us, are too reluctant to do peer reviews. So at times, this kind of standard processes are not followed or people are lazy to follow. So if you associate them to a gamification concept, it can engage them into following standards and things like that. So why am I talking about gamification and why this popularity has increased is this stats from medium.org. 90% of the employees are more productive when they engage in gamification. Like I saw 95% of the people here saying they like games. So it triggers something for us, right? And it engages us to go better, right? So why are organizations not adapting to this kind of things while they test or while they develop, right? The other stats, 69% are likely to stay for 3+ more years in an organization if they engage or involve people. We like all of these activities like Fun Fridays and things that happen in our organizations, right? So these are kind of triggering us to engage ourselves, right? 72% of people believe that gamifications inspire them to work harder, and I think all of you might be agreeing to this in this space as well, right? And 95% of the employees enjoy using gamified systems. So there is a rapid benefit with gamification, not just with domains like where you have loyalty programs in aircrafts, hotels. Now we get discount codes everywhere, right? So these are kind of gamifications. You do a Google Pay, you get tickets and stuff like that. So this is everywhere today. So why not in testing? So talking about numbers, it's not just something that I'm trying to say of value, but this concept of gamification is getting tremendous amount of popularity and is projected to be 30.7 billion by 2025, which is a huge number. So let's get into the design steps. Okay, we talked about gamification, but how do you implement them? So this is one simple model, which is the 4 Qs model, also called asking 4 questions, or we can also say W3H, right? The why, what, who, and how. So whenever you're trying to implement gamification in your teams, you need to ask these 4 simple questions. One is, why are you applying gamification? What is the goal of applying gamification in your teams, in your projects? What do you want people to do? What actions you want them to take? What is the thing that you want them to do? And who are you designing this for? Right? So in this talk, I'll be talking more specific to how testers can implement gamification, and I'll give you 12 ideas after I explain this. But it can be applied to any concept. And how do we design the system? What sort of system are you going to give to play that game or use those gamification concepts? Something like having a website which has leaderboards. So there are a lot of things that I will discuss of how you can use and design the system. So gamification mechanics is basically badges, progress bars, leaderboards, and avatars that you get. Okay, so 5 steps to implement gamification. If you're more interested to explore on this particular topic of gamification, there is a good book, Gamification and Work, and where this steps is something I seek inspiration from. So the first step is know your player, which is the center, which is the orange circle, which says understand the context. So today I'll be talking about gamification and testing. So say for example, our players are testers. The second concept is identify your mission. What is the desired outcome of the gamification that you want to take? So an example could be preparing a bug report for your product. So which is basically the pink portion of the thing. The third step is human motivation. Now human motivations can be different for different people, right? So some are attracted by intrinsic. So basically, what motivation you want to do? Do you want them to master a product? Do you want them to be curious? And there is extrinsic, which is competition rewards. Some people get charged when you give them certificates, give them some rewards, right? So this is more extrinsic. So an example of human motivation, and I'm giving it more like a competition, is more about competition to write a best bug report. The fourth step is applying the mechanics. So basically game rules and game mechanics like leaderboards and things like that, which is basically the green portion. So, and some rules I'm setting when I'm trying to set up this particular gamification thing here. So an example could be, should complete the bug report in 6 hours. So I'm giving and assigning this contest and it should be completed in 6 hours. So just example of how you can apply some rules. And then the last step, is to basically monitor, manage and measure. So whenever people are competing in a competition, they always like to get real-time feedback, and that's what charges them to do better and get into competition. So obviously then you manage, you find out who has won, who is the leader, and then you announce the winner of the top bug report. So these are five simple steps of how you can set gamification. Now, how can you apply the rewards, right? So this is a very good model here, which is the SAPS model, right? So we have a lot of testing communities today. We have Test Chat who's sponsoring this event. We have the Test Tribe, a lot of other good communities out there, Ministry of Testing. So what models they apply? So I'll try to give you examples, and in case you are having your own personal communities that you to build, and even I also run Q community as well. So this is a good model of how you can get in and reward while applying gamification concepts, and I'll be talking specifically with regards to testing communities. So SAPS, it's status, power, access, power and stuff. So in terms of rewards, it goes from cheaper to costly and stronger to weaker. So what I mean by this? So status. So if you're in a community and you're given the status of expert community or ambassadors, we see a lot of ambassadors coming in out there, A verified and badges, right? So these kind of are low cost, right? It's very cheap to give a badge, right? But you feel stronger, you're recognized as an expert in the industry on a particular product or a particular thing. So this is specifically the status reward. The other rewards you can give is access to private courses. So some of the communities give access to private courses or access to private webinars. So there are webinars just held for leaders specifically. So this is a kind of a reward which engages based on access or exclusivity, right? So exclusivity could mean like you're attending this conference today, you're getting the access to this recordings, right? So it's exclusive for you people. The next is power. Now power is basically like we have volunteers here, they control the flow of this program. They have the power to say stop, you have 5 minutes left. So this is more about the moderator privileges that we give into communities. So it's more like giving a power to a volunteer. If you have Slack channels in your communities or in your teams as well, you're giving them the power to moderate this thing. The last is stuff. So this is again costlier, like freebies, getting t-shirts out there today. So these are also ways you get discounts, you get money. So this require a little bit costlier but weaker in terms of the satisfaction that you get. So this is basically the SAPS model for it. So I'll be talking about 12 gamification ideas which you can use in your teams as well. So I'll start with Jira. So Jira has their own plugin for gamification. So in case you're using Jira, you can always go. So this is the defect dashboard. You can create your own dashboards. I'm using 2 plugins here, which is pie chart for just identifying who is in the leaderboard, and then I'm using issue statistics gadget just to find out who is leading in the leaderboard. So you can create this gadgets yourself if you're using Jira and implement it in your teams, to interact. So you go into the add-ins section and the Atlassian marketplace, and you can just search gamifications there. So once you search gamification, there's a free plugin you can download, Jira on, which is gamification for Jira. You need to be an admin. So if you're not an admin, you may have to contact your admin to get this downloaded. So once you download, and once it is loaded, it automatically sets up the system for you. So you don't have to invest much into setting up a gamification leaderboard in your teams. Right? So this is my profile. You can see your user rating, what ratings you got. You can set your own badges, what was your rating in the last month, etc. So I have got a bug bounty and a rating of 5, right? And I've got a badge of destroyer. So these are automatically configured for you in your Jira gamification plugin. You can set in the various achievements you want to get in Jira. So I've just created a destroyer badge, but you can always add achievements and create different badges and how you can motivate people in your teams. You can create various events based on releases that you want to do. You can set up various levels that people, you want to keep them engaged. So a lot of other good things are there. So this is something you can do for free and it's not chargeable. So this is the first idea. Now, gamification while taking testing interviews and trainings. So in my experience when I'm taking interviews, right, specifically with test automation, what I observed and what experience I got while I was taking these interviews was basically people were very accurate in giving answers to questions. What is verification, what is validation, what is SDLC, what is STLC, you get all the answers. But when it comes to building a framework or writing a code, they always failed. So what I realized, something is not working, right? You have a dump set, like most of them ask, okay, can I get a dump set of interview questions? But that does not really help you identifying the right talent. So some of the gamification ideas, and I used it in one of my past companies, was what I did way back then. I was working with UTP. So what we did was we introduced bugs in that framework itself. And the very first time the person used to come for an interview, we used to give that framework to debug. Now what it helped me get was basically whether a person is able to read the code, what he's claiming he can do, right? So, and we used to give it in a time box manner. So you have 15 minutes, this is the code, debug it and make it run, right? So this was the strategy I followed, which was like when I used to take hirings for specifically test automation, because it's very difficult to figure out, whether the person actually knows the language, the person actually is a test automation engineer, right? Because it was very easy in terms of theoretical knowledge, which I got most of the time, which they knew or their resumes had that, right? So this was the way I got into building that framework. So you can use this idea. This one is testing challenges. I'll be sharing all the links here, which is bit.ly GoT JOS, which you can always go, and I'll share all of these links with you later, so you don't need to record it. But yeah, this is testing challenges. So it is basically, when you want to test or take interviews for a tester, right? So this is very useful website, which is testing challenges. So this one, which is challenge one, is specifically to check the first name and what testing things you can apply on this particular field as well. So I'll just try to get some interaction, and I'll need your help in helping me out what sort of test you will apply on this. First name, input text box. Any takes? What are tests you can apply on this?
First of all, it is mandatory or not, then the range related, then we can check whether it's applicable to CSS or some other kind of security vulnerabilities, so on and so forth.
Awesome. So in fact, there are 18 different tests you can perform here. And I also used to take some kind of this orally as well. I don't know, maybe this question might be floating now. How will you test a Google search page? This might be a common interview question you might be getting at times. So this is a good one, which is specifically testing challenges. You can always go and try these challenges. One good part of this is you will be in their Hall of Fame, which I am. So in case you want to give it a shot, and let me know. Once you get into the Hall of Fame, I'll be happy to cheer you out and give you a shout out. So go ahead and take this challenge and see how many tactics you can find out. So I just did 4 to 5 in the interest of time. So average, space in the middle, spaces at the start, blank, minimum empty value. We don't think about hacking, like doing security testing as well. So you can also do CSS, SQL injection, XSS attacks, etc. I don't want to leak all the answers, so go ahead, once this session is completed, you can try this out. An important thing, your name will be registered on the Hall of Fame, so give it a shot for sure. And of course, you can use this page when you're trying to take interviews for testers, right? You can just give them this page, you will be able to understand how they think, right? Now, testing is a very difficult topic to identify with just question and answer, right? So I would suggest ask practical questions while taking interviews. Use and introduce gamification things like this to challenge while taking interviews for testers, right? So good side here, there are different challenges challenging different aspects of testing, so give it a try.
That's the link, right? The bottom right corner.
Yeah, you will get all of the 12 ideas which I share on this. This is coding games. This is specifically if you are more interested in coding. As testers, I really think if you are more into the coding aspects, you can always get into coding games. This is an interesting way of how they're engaging coders on different languages. This is C#. It's basically to design and kill the warriors using code. So these are various interesting ways. I have a couple of other games. So if you're interested to get into coding, you can do this. There is 100 days of codes, no code, where they give you a timeline. So that is something also you can try out. This one is Code Defenders. This is basically JUnit for unit testing. So again, as testers, it's very important for us it's very important for us to also focus on unit testing. So these are ways of how it is gamified. This is basically how you can cover unit test in your piece of code. So this is also a very good game that you can try out and test your unit testing skills. Gamification for security testing, right? So as security testing is really important. If some of you had attended Santosh's session as well, data breaches can get expensive, right? So this is a good website which is XSS Games, which will check around your security testing skills. So I just done 2 levels here. This one is basically the target is to inject a script in a pop-up. So I'm writing the script, which is alert hello, which will give the script. The moment you finish the mission, you proceed to the next level. So this one asks for injecting a pop-up alert into the content of this particular pane. Message pane basically. So here I'm just inducing the content. So this way you can actually learn concepts of security testing. There are a lot of other websites as well which can help you with security testing, and again this is an aspect we should not ignore today. 54% of new hires are highly productive because of gamified onboarding. So this is a big pain point. As freshers, when you get into an organization, and I have been into a few organizations where the product itself required around 6 months to study end to end. So at times you get into such kind of projects, and it's very difficult for a fresher or someone who is newly joined to onboard on such kind of topics, right? Now this becomes very difficult when it comes to onboarding, and we would like to be welcomed, whenever we come to any organization, be it anything, not just domain knowledge, the tool expertise or anything of that sort. So that's where gamification comes, and that's why the number is 54% prefer to have some sort of gamification. So the popular one, which is Test Automation University, this is a classic, perfect example of inducing gamification in learning. So TAU has more than lakhs of students joining, and if any one of you are interested in learning about test automation, this particular website is something I would definitely recommend. So they have a good learning path which encourages you to take exercises step by step. Now this motivates you. The other thing is they have the TAU top 100. I think Fez did achieve that feat as well for TAU top 100, right? So this gives you that zest and feeling, yes, I am in the top 100. So they have a leaderboard which is kind of getting engaged, and then they have avatars and points, they have badges in terms of gamification mechanisms, and they give you certifications as well. It's a good feeling that you get, when you get certified. So I did also some of these courses from Test Automation University on visual testing and DevOps and other things which I was not aware of at my time. So this is a good way of how you can endorse yourself and use gamification concepts in learning. The 7th one is TestSphere cards. This is basically from MOT, Ministry of Testing. So you can purchase this in the store. I did experience this personally as well, playing this game within communities when we had a lot of gamifications, when we have meetups with the test tribe as well. So basically this is basically a set of cards that you get with various testing concepts. So these are some examples like heuristics, observability and patterns. So what you do in this sort of gamification is you just pop up a card, like say for example strangling patterns is basically getting rid of old code, you strangle it and then you split it up into different codes, right? So this is strangling pattern. So what you do is you exchange the card within your team members, get their experiences of which strangling pattern, and then see what you can use of that pattern in your projects, right? So this is a good way of brainstorming and coming up with ideas through gamification concept. Dog food is eating your own food and stuff like that. So let me go to the next one. Visual testing. Now visual testing is very important, right? Now this game is not just for testers, but you can also challenge your UX designer teams as well, right? So this is can't unsee. It's basically telling out the differences between both the screens. So for here you can see that okay, this is a greenish thing which looks like a bad image. So you can go ahead and try this. I will also share the links with you later on, where you can compare between two images and see, can you visually test this? There are AI tools out there today which can do this for you, but if you want to manually test and see how your visual testing skills are, you will definitely can try this tool out, which is Can't Unsee, which is again free, and you get a level, you get points there, stars, etc. This is telling you what was wrong in this particular image and stuff like that. Okay, this looks good. Ninth one is testing hackathons, crowd testing. Now this is a very important way of gamification. And with XLQ we tried this out as well. So it is basically like, we did hackathons. Now what hackathons does is, you're inviting the community, you're inviting public to test your tool out, right? This is the most instant way of getting feedback, right? And you see a lot of crowd testing tools out there like TestU and others. They invite people to do crowd testing. This is the fastest way of getting feedback because the tool is being applied on and used on different OSs, different devices with different users. So you're able to get faster feedback, right? So the intention of gamification, so this was done publicly. We tried this out on the community in Hackathon 1.0, 2.0, and we also tried this on college students as well because the intention of hackathons was different. So we did 3 hackathons with college students in Hyderabad as well as in University of Dallas. So the intention of getting this particular thing was how someone as a fresher getting out of college would react to seeing such a tool, right? So we did a lot of analysis, and gamification is not just about gamification, there is an intent when you do such kind of hackathons. What are you trying to get as a goal with this hackathon? Our prime goal initially was just to find out what is the learning curve of a tool, right? So what we observed with some of the challenges that we gave, there were 80% of the people who were able to solve this in under 8 hours. So for that, it was kind of useful for us in conducting such kind of hackathons. The other thing is you also get feedback. It's not just about what is your goal. There are people who will give you feedback. What is their experience? What they didn't like, what they like, what they've seen good in some other platform, right? So they give you suggestions. You don't have to go globally as well. In case you want to run internal hackathons, you can definitely do that. This will give you a good picture. In my past company as well, we ran a global hackathon because we had the number of bugs that we had was so much in the backlog that we wanted to reduce that. So you can apply this internally as well. You don't need to go public again. There are companies which are implementing internal hackathons. In the past I worked with product companies. So the way that they did was what new feature they can bring in the product which will help the end user, right? So such kind of hackathons as well, you can run it in your organizations if you want to invite ideation. Okay. Focusizing test user estimation. This is also a gamification technique, right? And we all know, like, user estimations is very difficult, right? You will never get it spot on. So I did it even in my past company. We used to do focusizing. Basically, you have to invite and get inclusive, right? You have to take advice of other people, when you're playing this focusizing thing. Get their estimates or story, what they will take, right? Because as testers, it's very important for us to be true to what user estimates we're giving, right? Because you cannot do everything in a short thing, right? So if you want to test in 2 minutes, you can just get a Maggi noodles, right? If you give them 2 hours, you can get a biryani. So it's a similar concept, right? You cannot test less, like you cannot test more in less time. So try to be inclusive. These smaller techniques can also help you out when you're giving user estimations. just give your team cards. Do this before your estimation planning so that you are hearing everyone's advice, because each one's expertise would be different. A fresher would take more time, an expert would take less time. So hear everyone out and then come up with a common conclusion. The 11th thing is testing puzzles. So it's basically puzzles that you can involve to engage your teams. So we did this in my first company where we used to roll out puzzles every week. The idea of that puzzle was because the reason that we did these quizzes and puzzles was because the product was so huge to understand. It took 6 months. So wherever we felt that some concept is really important, we used to trigger quizzes. And every month we used to have the star of the month for such kind of quizzes. So you can try this kind of concept out. This is an example of POKC. He creates a lot of puzzles and other fun activities. So you can also explore this website. Last one is brainstorming. Again, this is an open tool and free tool if you want to use, if you want to refine your quality strategy. So there are aspects that you can select in phase 1, what you want to test, like security and permission. Say for example, I keep my risk, like maybe say exposure to PII data is the risk that can be exposed on the application. And then it gives you a set of techniques that you can apply, like OAPs, top 10, or social engineering techniques, how you can mitigate this risk. So this is again a good website you can use to define a good quality strategy and do risk analysis. Okay. So there are various heuristics and other things that you get. So even when you want to brainstorm in your team to create a quality strategy, even before you start testing, you can use this. Okay. So benefits to testers. Testers are motivated by the opportunity to get rewards and recognition. So gamification always helps to engage. Boost knowledge, absorption and retention with all of these things that we talked about. Real-time feedback. If you have a leaderboard, if you have like the bug report I talked about, getting feedback and you're trying to understand people, what they missed in the bug report, how they can make it better, how they can get it better. Instills transparency. You're inviting people to get their opinion, out-of-box thinking, productivity and morale, and builds healthy competition, right? So that is the kind of motto that you get with the benefits. So gamification is 75% psychology and 25% technology, right? So it's about involving everyone in the team. Now we talked about all of the things. They look difficult, right? Not that easy as it sounds. So what are the gamification tips that I want to give you if you want to take away some things back to your organizations and teams? One point is have shorter cycles. So new members don't feel left out, right? So one thing I found out was, like some of these leaderboards, there are people who have been into this from a long time, right? And then when someone new wants to participate, they already get demotivated. I'm not going to get X number of points. I'll never be in the top 100, right? So you have to have shorter cycles. You have to refresh that. The next part is start in small steps, right? Some of us may be new, so you don't have to go brute bang, right? Internally, take smaller steps, observe, retrospect, and revise. Keep rewards which are not always monetary. Like for me, I don't care if I'm getting money or not, but maybe like something like this could be interesting, lunch with the CEO. So that can motivate your teams, right? So not always it's about rewards. So try to understand your audience, right? And if you keep such kind of unique awards like lunch with the CEO or a coffee time with the CEO or expert, these kind of rewards can be helpful. So emphasize on quality versus quantity. Like, when you're keeping rewards, don't go for the fastest number of bugs logged or the amount of bugs logged, right? Always explore, evaluate, see who has logged critical bugs, who has done enough justice to the bugs that are being logged. Just in the example of a hackathon. So next one is ensure rapid and instant feedback cycles. We like always instant feedback cycles. Like just taking an example of hackathon, you don't know who is logged how many bugs, who is leading, who is that, right? So this kind of rapid instant feedback cycles always motivate us as testers as well and humans as well. So that is one thing. Ensure you create proper rules and structure. So for bigger events, you may require better planning. Start with an easy level, right? No one likes to go on a tough level first, right? And it demotivates someone when you're trying to implement gamification. So start with easy level and create the right balance in the gamification exercises that you put in. And the last one is to involve everyone. So make sure it is a team which has benefits of this, right? At times we ignore this because we don't see benefits of this. So try to involve people in your team, your reporters, your managers, etc., so that they can, get involved in these exercises. So quick recap: the 4 Qs model: what, who, how. Understand the goals, action, players, and system. The SAPS model, which is status, access, power, and stuff. The 5 simple steps: know your player, identify your mission, understand human motivation, apply the mechanics, manage, monitor, and measure. Yeah. So I'd like to end it. So let's take gamification in testing to the next level in 2022. Hope you enjoyed this talk. And game over. This is me, Andrades. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and all the 12 ideas I have mentioned will be on this particular link, so you can get them, try it for yourself. And I'm happy to hear if you come up with new gamification ideas. I would definitely like to hear that, hear success studies, so that I can refine my presentation even better for others. So yeah, thank you, and if there are any questions, I'm open.